Hello, welcome to Game 5 of this medium game semifinals match, Andy versus Fika. We're tied at 2-2 so far, and it is Andy's first player. The first person to get 3 points wins this game, so unless this game comes out in a tie, we are going to see a winner of the match here. We've got good trashing, so look out, Trader out Bishop. None of those are great at trashing, but they can gain stuff. We've got Lost Arts, which you can put on something. Probably, I'm not sure if you end up getting Lost Arts here, but Merchant Guild feels like the thing that you put it on. There's also Way of the Rat, so if you get a bunch of markets, you can rat market, and market's not so good that you feel like you need to play it, but obviously having a bunch of markets seems pretty good in this deck. Devil's Workshop feels pretty good. You want to get the Imps, you're going to have a couple different uniques. You can get markets, Mystics, Merchant Guilds, dungeons, and so on. So Devil's Workshop will be good there to help you gain some stuff, and early on you can just gain some lookouts and dungeons. Yeah, so early on I think the plan's probably going to be lookout Devil's Workshop. It seems reasonable. It's going to be hard to activate that Devil's Workshop productively for a little bit, so you might end up getting a gold even, which is not the end of the world in this kingdom. I think Double Lookout's a bit too aggressive. I could believe in Lookout Dungeon just feels like it's hard to do anything the rest of that shuffle. So I like Lookout Devil's Workshop. You can possibly gain some things and move from that. I guess you could also consider, Dungeon Devil's Workshop. I'm not really feeling either the trade route or the bishop, but there's maybe a little bit of an argument to be made for adding a trade route because Lookout's a little bit slow. The trash, and eventually you're going to have only good things in your deck, mostly good things in your deck, and you're not sure if you can play the Lookout, so you might want to transition to a trade route there. There was a suggestion to put Lost Arts on Market, which lets you have it as a village, and you can play other stuff. It turns Market into Bizarre Workers Village, I suppose. And again, probably some amount of the turns where we have 4 money, 5 money, we might just take a market and a dungeon or something. Mystic Lookout gets to draw. Yeah, if you don't, but you might have to trash good cards to make that work. So that's a bit tough. I think, to get to set up correctly. Drawing the Lookout turn 3 is really nice. It lets you set up and get a clean shuffle. For Andy here, I think I'm looking at a dungeon probably. I think it's too early for trade route. They went with a silver. I guess you're getting three costs here, so I can believe this here would be like a dungeon and a trade route. Maybe another Lookout feels a bit much as well. We'll see what they decide to do. Okay, they do go with the second Lookout. We are going to end up with early on some sad hands with this build order. With 6, I think you just get a market. All signs point to market for me. They don't have any other terminals, so they might consider getting a wine merchant or a merchant guild, but neither of those seem particularly good right now. They want to be still drawing through the deck and finding stuff and thinning. The 2 Lookouts feels a little bit awkward to me. They're going to be thinning coppers quickly and then going to have some turns where they're just buying silvers, which, I don't know, silver's not really on my radar on this kind of kingdom. I'll hit 5 somehow, and I'll get thin, and maybe I have to get 1 silver because I've thinned really far down too quickly. So I even like getting the trade route there over the Lookout, I think, which is odd normally. So Fika's got 2 again. So Andy needs to play this Lookout first, and then they can get a clean shuffle. Well, if they don't play this Lookout, which I assume they probably will. So now they'll probably discard a state copper and just play the Lookout to go ahead and trigger the shuffle, which I'm pretty okay with. They've got a lot of junk down there still. And I think 1 gold is going to be fine, as I said at the beginning. I feel pretty good about having a single gold. I guess they're deciding if they want to buy a copper to gain 4 cost. I feel like a gold is good for the deck, and then they can add. Probably they need to add a trade route now to get rid of the lookouts. The dungeon actually was pretty nice with lookout. If you're close to moving through your deck, you're able to discard the bad cards from the beginning of your hand, and then if you draw back around, you know that they're in your discard. You just have to be careful about triggering bad shuffles. A bishop is somewhat on my radar here. Maybe not this turn, it feels early, but I like at some point in this kind of kingdom having a bishop, because your opponent's thinned with their double lookout, so it's not helping them that much, and that extra VP could be substantial. Here, I think you take Rat Market. Yeah, that's quite nice. And I think second Devil's Workshop is just really bad. In this kingdom, there's not enough draw, but as we said, Lookout Mystic is kind of draw, but it's not really. You're still decreasing your hand size by 1 at the cost of trashing a card and 2 coins. Or you get to trash a card and 2 coins, I suppose. One could word it. This is a little strange playing the Lookout second. I think you probably want to play that Lookout now instead of the second Market. And I would consider here taking another Market. And I think actually this deck Andy's built now could already use the Bishop, I think. It doesn't seem unreasonable to me. They've got the lookouts they want to trash, or trash is moving along. I definitely want to rat the market there. So here I think you discard copper, silver, you buy a merchant, a copper, and you gain an imp. Imp is the way we increase our hand size. It's difficult to get them without getting the extra copper, but you've got 2 lookouts and 2 dungeons. So I'm feeling pretty good about the extra copper in order to get the imp. The line I suggested you get a market and a bishop. Dance with the Dead. They were listening to synth pop earlier. Synth something? It's a genre I'm unfamiliar with. Synthwave. Is that new wave with more synthesizers? Doesn't new wave already have synthesizers? These are all good questions that someone other than me can answer. I found that I concentrate better if I don't actually listen to music. And in that case, so I end up, when I do commentary, I actually concentrate more because I'm not listening to music or doing something else. I'm focusing entirely on the game in front of me. Certainly I prefer to listen to music or watch stuff on YouTube while I'm playing ladder games, which is maybe why my ladder rating fluctuates wildly. They're not on VC Shamrock. So we're moving along here. Both decks have trashed quite a bit. We can look in the trash. 9 things have been trashed. Andy here can decide what they want to do. I think I'm just playing both lookouts and being okay if I have to trash something. They can't have 6 good cards down there. We think don't play. They have like all their markets down in that bottom part of the kingdom. They still should have a copper that they can trash down there. But really, wow. Warriors tracking the deck. Slightly unfortunate shuffle there. So good decision by Andy not to play that. You've had to trash the silver. I'd have been okay trashing the silver, but it's possible like you reveal 3 markets and you just cry. Yeah, and I think you do draw this lookout and trigger this shuffle. You just want to get super thin, but you can now get market. I still like the bishop, market, bishop, imp. I would have probably played the second lookout. I'm still prioritizing getting thin. But I like market, bishop, imp here. Wine merchant. Then they can't get the bishop in this line. I'm not sure what they're getting then. Another dungeon and an imp. Okay. Yeah, so Andy can play all their markets here. Hopefully find some stuff to trash. I do think my Merchant Guild is quite a bit better than Wine Merchant. And I do like the idea of putting Lost Arts on market and that lets you play things. The problem is neither of those draw for me. I think I just want to keep buying markets until the market pile is empty, knowing that I need money and I need draw as the key variable. Yeah, I think you just bishop a silver here pretty happily. Buy another market or Lost Arts on market if you feel like it. The problem with Lost Artsing when you still only have one terminal is you're not getting any value out of it for 2 turns. So I think a lot of people would say you should just buy a merchant market there, or even buy the Merchant Guild and then buy the Lost Arts next time it comes around. Did Andy get 2 bishops? 2 bishops seems pretty aggressive to me. I think you're at this case where you can play 2 bishops productively only 1 or 2 times, and you just rather have a silver or a dungeon or something the other times. I'm thinking you discard bishop copper here. Play the market. Make sure you don't. Yeah, and I'll play the other lookout. So here I'm discarding bishop copper. Huh. Are going to kill the gold now? Kill the Devil's Workshop? I agree that they have too many dungeons. I really only want 2 dungeons in these decks. I guess you buy nothing and gain another gold. I don't really see a reason to add another 3 costs to the deck. I really only want to add 5 costs at this point. But if they played the lookout, though, they would have definitely revealed the copper and go to top deck this market. So I would have definitely tried to play the lookout last turn. Yeah, the imps are incredibly important. I still don't like the double Devil's Workshop because colliding them still feels hard. Like the idea that I have is you get very, very thin with lookouts, and then you grab a trade out. They seemed like they had other priorities, so I never really want to gain any silvers. There's 2 dungeons and then 2 early lookouts. They moved Lost Arts to Wine Merchants. Yeah, they gained 0 cards. I assume they bought an estate. Yeah, doesn't make sense to buy the estate if you're not going for the Wine Merchant stuff. Sorry, if you're not going for the imp. But again, their deck seems like it's small enough that they can support 2 Wine Merchants just fine without the Lost Arts. So I would consider going estate, Wine Merchant, imp. I believe they have enough markets. Andy has enough markets. They've got a couple that they should be able to draw through. Yeah, discard copper bishop, play market, and now they can play double lookout and hopefully trash a couple of coppers and not have a terrible shuffle. Yeah, unfortunately, there's still not quite enough draw, but they can play now, look out again, and guarantee trash a copper, I believe, because I really didn't like the second bishop. I didn't understand it at the time. And you're in this tough spot now where do you bishop the Devil's Workshop? Do you Devil's Workshop gain a gold? I guess I would consider bishoping the Devil's Workshop and passing my turn. Oh, they only have 1, though, so they have to keep it to get more imps. So I think I would consider, as Andy, just passing turn here and feeling bad about it. They gain a gold. Okay, that makes a little bit of sense. They really need to get the imp stuff online. I guess you're trashing lookout. Now imp does not have a target, though, unfortunately. Oh, they do, because they have Lost Arts. Okay. So that's nice, at least. So here I'm bishoping the gold. And you buying, I guess, Wine Merchant. Silver? Trade route? Bishop? None of the things stand out to me as being any good. Like, honestly, could almost be a curse. Yeah, I also like the merchant guilds for a similar reason, and then you also have a bunch of dungeons too. So if you're adding a bunch of coppers, it's not like the end of the world because you've got the dungeons to sift through them. But having imps here is really important, and I'm not seeing how Andy's getting to them at this point. The golds feel pretty bad right now. I'm even thinking about discarding gold. Look out, bishoping a gold and then passing turn. Yeah. Yeah, I'm not quite sure what to do here as Andy. I think I like bishoping the gold. I didn't really want any golds in the deck, as I was saying, until I'd gotten rid of my lookouts. Because this kind of stuff, and like, if you're thin enough, then you're okay adding in coppers, or you get like a rat thing going where you rat a market. But really, I just want like, so I guess what I'm saying is discard. I might just discard bishop gold, play the lookout, trash something, buy a market, because I really just want to have, 10 market. Once you have 4 or 5 markets, then you can rat a market, buy a market, gain an imp in a turn. And I feel like we're at the point of the game where you could have done that already. This line made the least sense to me of any of the possible lines, because it just lets Fika get a free trash, and then Andy gets 1 BP and doesn't buy anything. So I think as Fika, you're in a bit of a spot here because you didn't discard the wine merchants last turn. I don't know if you want to trigger this shuffle without the wine merchants in it. Maybe you do, just to get up to 3 gains, so you can get another imp. And maybe you draw a lookout here. It seems not unreasonable that you find a lookout and a copper, and then you can play the lookout and buy merchant copper. Although, they do want to get the wine merchants off the mat, I suppose. So here we're discarding probably lookout gold. Okay, that makes sense to me. Yeah, you should really play the markets first. That gives you a better chance of discarding for golds. As is, though, this is the kind of turn you were hoping to have, right? You're able to get 2 markets and an imp, it looks like. You buy a market here and gain an imp. So, good stuff is starting to happen. Unfortunately, this shuffle has happened. I don't know how many coppers they have left, if it's worth playing 1 lookout. In the worst case scenario, you trash a dungeon. They have a dungeon coming into play, so I suppose I'm crying wolf. This is quite nice for Fika, though. They can even rat a wine merchant if they want. I think I would have considered ratting. I mean, ratting one, now they didn't have a treasure left, so they can't rat. They're just getting wine merchant stack and a couple of imps, it looks like. Hard to argue with that. The problem as I see it now for Fika is that they're going to have a tough time drawing. And maybe it doesn't matter. Okay, so they can play the market now and then imp lookout. Oh, maybe it doesn't matter because of the plus action on market. But they're ending with 5 actions. They don't need 5 actions. So yeah, I'm leaning towards bishoping the gold here. I would have strongly considered not playing that last market and ratting it. Ratting it seems like you rat the copper, discard, gain a merchant, then you bishop the gold, then you buy a market, and Devil's Workshop for another market. I can also believe now is time for the Merchant Guild. Yeah, they 4 turns maybe later than I thought they could, but I do not like the second bishop. I would honestly take like a copper over the second bishop. Oh, the third bishop. We are seeing again the same discard because they keep triggering a shuffle. Luckily, they have the lookouts, the dungeons coming in. So Imp Wine Merchant is quite nice. You can play Imp Wine Merchant for lots of non-terminal Imp draw, and maybe that's sufficient in this deck. This is a pretty sweet combo. And yeah, now I'm just killing the golds. I don't want any treasures left in the deck. I'm going to add 3 more Wine Merchants and 2 more Imps. I think at this point with all the Imps, Fika can support another dungeon just so they're giving up a little bit of payload, but they run the risk of like drawing all the Imps without Wine Merchants or vice versa. The piles are low, but Andy doesn't have any pile pressure. So, okay, they're just going to take a bunch of Imps. Yeah, so it looks like Fika's deck has come together, and I think Andy's deck is still a turn or 2 away. Adding the second bishop did not seem helpful to me. At this point, but they needed to have gotten Imps earlier, I think. And the priorities, I think both of them were a little bit off. I think Fika's deck ended up turning out to be really nice. I was not tracking what they were doing. I was more kind of tracking what Andy was doing here. And the build I had for Andy's deck, I felt like the ordering would have been a little bit different. So here you're killing the gold, I assume. You're killing the lookout. You have to play the last dungeon. So you have a dungeon in play for next turn, and you have a lookout and a bishop down there. I think I discarded lookout bishop because I want to gain another imp. And you just got to add a province and copper, I guess. Silver's better than copper. A gold merchant. Yeah, I just think that Fika's deck is capable of some ridiculous turns where they get like 4 provinces, and Andy's deck does not feel like it's yet capable of that. And I'm not quite sure how adding more payload now, I think you need, helps that. Maybe you just need to add more payload and hope that Fika has a bad turn. But both cases felt bad. Imps are quite nice. The way this interaction with Imp and Wine Merchant and Lost Arts is working, I had not spotted that early on. Imp works like that with Horse. It doesn't work like that with Conclave, for example. So that's something to consider. And I think if Fika keeps having turns like this, they can continue to build. I don't see they can continue to build. They can maybe add 1 province and build some more. Add the other markets. I think they desperately want to play that dungeon, so because they're going to draw a Devil's Workshop and a bishop, and then discard a copper silver. They can gain another imp. 30 money, so they can spend 28. They need to remember to discard. I believe the bottom card is and having 2 dungeons coming into play at the start of the turn is quite nice. Yeah, I wanted to gain more imps, but I guess you can just gain nothing now. Really, the only way for you to lose this game is to click on something that costs 5 or 6 right now. Fairgrounds can get up to 6 fairly easily. Andy, for example, has 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 uniques only, so I guess they're not getting up to 6 particularly easily. And we get to start to see turns where Andy's able to play multiple imps. And here I think you're bishoping this Lookout. And Fika's super clean, so they don't have anything left. They maybe have a copper left, although they shouldn't bishop it anyways, because they need cards to discard to their dungeon. That was a mistake. They should not have imped that bishop, I think. They have no way now to get back to that golden bishop. And again, having more than one bishop in this deck is quite awkward. Yeah, it's even more because Wine Merchant's worth +4. I'm not sure what Andy's building towards. I think they just need to take green and hope that Fika duds, and they can empty out provinces next turn, or just get another province if Fika duds 2 turns in a row. I'm not quite sure. Fika's built a really nice deck here. And yeah, we're just imping Wine Merchants. It's pretty easy to play once you've set this up. You play Imp, you play Wine Merchant. It's like basically playing Lab or any other thing like that. They just have to be slightly careful that they draw an Imp at some point. So here their turn's over, but they can bishop the Lookout. And it's not clear to me, Moyo, what Mystic is doing for the deck. Having 2 dungeons in play would have been nice there. I think as Fika, I would have gotten another dungeon there just because they're drawing so much now that reliability is the most important thing. But I don't think there's a possible way that Andy can come back here. They are finally able to draw a deck. They're going to get a bunch of bishop points, but Fika's going to have a pretty easy time of getting the last 2 provinces. Like, it's not even clear to me what Andy should be buying. Market, Merchant Guild, maybe. Yeah, they're just gonna hope to be able to bishop enough points. But as we see, Fika's deck is pretty strong. They're gonna hit 8 every turn, pretty trivially, and then beyond that, likely they'll hit 16 here and win. And it looks like they have 16 in hand. So, good games to Fika Monster. They're going to have won this match 3-2. And they will move on to the finals of meeting games to face HaloAndy. So, quite nicely done by Fika on this last kingdom. I think they saw something with this bishop, with this Lost Arts Imp Wine Merchant thing. It took a little bit longer maybe than optimal to pick up on, or to organize the deck. But once they had it running, as we see, this is a pretty sweet build that they've got going. So, congrats to Fika Monster. Also, congrats to HaloAndy. They had a really good run. And this will probably be their last medium games. Probably for Fika as well. They'll both be promoting up to big games, I suspect. So, I look forward to seeing them there myself, where I'll be playing. And good luck to Fika Monster and HaloAndy in the finals.